Am I the asshole for not letting my children's father live with us? My ex-husband and I had 3 children, 25F, 23F, and 22M. We separated 4 years ago after he said he was tired of seeing my old face every day and wanted to find someone younger, his words to my face when asking for divorce. The divorce was a mess. He tried in every way to take everything I had, and I even had to take on half of his debts. Long story short, I never talked to him again, face to face, and we only talk through lawyers when it's something about our children. Months ago, for my children, I found out that he was diagnosed with cancer, and it is in an advanced stage. I didn't say anything more about it, because any topic related to him doesn't appeal to me, but I decided to support my children and stay by their side. Yesterday, my 3 children, all live with me, sat down with me telling me that their father could no longer work, chemo plus cancer, and wouldn't be able to stay in his current home. So he had nowhere to live, and they would like for him to live here in these last stages. I immediately said no, and that I felt offended that I had even been asked that question, knowing how much he and I dislike each other. They started to argue, saying that our house was his last option, because his relatives couldn't, and they didn't want to leave his father without a home, and that I should think about them. I asked who would take care of him when things got worse, because all 3 of them work outside the home and I work from home, or who would cover all of his financial and medical expenses. They didn't know how to answer, and that they would decide between the 3 of them to help their father and not be so burdensome for me, and that the 3 of them were willing to let their father live in our house. I said that despite valuing their opinion on any other matter in the house, this matter is my decision alone, and it remains no. They called me heartless, and don't think that they are just trying to give their father a place to live, not my ex-husband. And I was being petty about all the things he did and not thinking about them. They're still pressuring me to change my mind, especially with their father only having 15 more days in his house, but I can't feel anything other than offended that they asked that, knowing how much the divorce messes with depression and anxiety. My ex got in touch on my personal number, asking to rethink and leave the past behind, just in these last moments. Funny that he asked me, but not his exes much younger than me. Am I the asshole? If you want to know, the oldest is waiting for her own house to be ready, and the 2 youngest are still unable to live alone, and I don't care about they still at home. Tell him he can ask his much younger and cuter exes. After all, you wouldn't want to bother him with your old face every day. Not the asshole. And do your kids know how he treated you? I understand not getting involved with my parents' grievances, but as a child in that situation, I would never consider even asking my mother to care for my father if I knew how he treated her. ETA, this would be my hill to die on. They don't know that he talked about looking for new faces, but right after the divorce, he dated a woman 20 years younger, so there's no way not to connect dots. And they know how bad I was, depression, anxiety, low self-esteem. After the divorce, I spent 30 days in bed doing almost nothing, and they had to force me to eat. So they know something. Maybe it's time to sit them down and tell them the truth about it all. Agreed. They spelled out their views to you. Spell out yours to them. They are his kids, and probably don't want to assume that's why he left. I asked who would take care of him when things got worse, because all 3 of them work outside the home, and I work from home, or who would cover all of his financial and medical expenses. They didn't know how to answer. Not the asshole. It sounds like your children are still thinking in childlike fashion that good old mom will just make it all happen somehow, and suck it up, while their part in this is to make the demands and apply the pressure. But they are working adults themselves now. If they want to take care of him, they can pool their resources, finances, time, and effort, and work something out and pay for it, making the sacrifices themselves. It's all well and good to throw accusations around, but are they willing to truly make sacrifices themselves, as they seem to take for granted that you should? Are they willing to give up their savings, take out loans, cut back on work hours, and so on? Are they willing to be there either in person or doing what it takes to pay for his care? If the answer is no to that, then what do they expect to happen even if you agree to let him live with you? For you to make all of the sacrifices yet again? No, it's not on. They are adults, and they need to come to the table as adults, willing to make their own contributions and sacrifices. If not, then they have no standing to ask anything of you. They need to be told this so they don't just blame you for not fixing everything for them. They need to look in the mirror and see that they can't judge you without that judgment being of themselves too, unless they are doing their own bit to the best of their ability. Not the asshole. Your children are all old enough and work If they want to help him in his last days, they can rent a house or apartment and take care of him. He is no longer your responsibility, and why would he want to see your old face for his last days? Am I the asshole for saying my stepmom can't take back how she treated me? I, 24 female, have always had a rocky relationship with my stepmom Cindy, 51 female. She came into my life when I was 13, and pretty much as soon as she and my dad were married, she became very pushy about taking up a parental role. She came to all my events and stuff, which I tried to appreciate, but she was also very, it's my house too, and I get to make rules after moving in with dad. She was the bad cop, I guess. She was the one who thought I didn't have enough chores, that my grades weren't good enough, that I needed screen time limits, etc. And that led to a lot of arguments. I hit the last straw at 17. The lawn needed cutting before Sunday. My dad said he'd do it Saturday afternoon, so I made plans to go hang out with friends for the day. While I was out, Cindy messaged me saying I shouldn't have let dad do the lawn because he'd had a tiring week and that I would be doing it. Her usual MO, basically. I said no and stayed out with my friends. When I got home, she was furious and tried to ground me, and it turned into this big, stupid argument where I pulled the "you're not my mom" card. Dad ended up stepping in. I wasn't grounded, but also asked me to try and get along with her. It didn't matter, because she decided she was done. She just kind of stopped acknowledging me. We basically became roommates who hated each other. I wasn't even allowed to eat food she bought, not special stuff, like when the bread ran out and she was the one to replace it. It was all just really tense. And I ended up spending a lot more time at my mom's apartment until I went to college. I've never formally blocked her or gone hinsy, but we just haven't spoken since. She never came anytime I met up with dad, etc. Until me and my fiancé announced our engagement. The wedding is over a year away, but Cindy sent me a long text congratulating me and asking for all the details so she could help plan. She was asking about coming to dress fittings, and if we wanted an engagement party, and if she could make a speech at the wedding. Basically asking about all the mother of the bride stuff and pretending the last 11 years didn't happen. I didn't reply until dad reached out asking why I hadn't. I was honest with him. I'm weirded out by this. I'm happy for Cindy to come as his +1, but she's not getting any role at the wedding. We're actually not even doing a head table, just because I don't want to share a table with her or separate her from dad, because she's not my mom. And the last time I saw her, she was insistent about that. It's turned into a whole thing. He says she's really hurt and that he's rethinking coming to the wedding because she doesn't want to go. I say she can't take back what happened, and at the very least, she should have apologized before reaching out like this. Mom and my partner are supportive of me, but I've had messages from several people on dad's side saying I'm an AH for punishing Cindy, and it's getting to me. So, am I the asshole? Edit. Sorry for disappearing. I'm just overwhelmed by how many people have responded to this and how supportive you've all been. Me and my partner, who is also a girl Bito, just for those calling her my husband, sorry for not clarifying, have been slowly reading through all your comments, and it has really helped. The things that have really stood out to me are those of you saying what Cindy did was withholding food. I never thought of it that way, but my partner agrees, and I do have anxiety around having enough food in the house. I'm now starting to wonder if that's part of the reason. And people saying what Cindy's doing now is still controlling, which makes almost too much sense. Just to clarify, because I've seen it brought up, mowing wasn't my job at home. It was a job for whoever was available, and my dad offered that time. A lot of what Cindy did was like that. Mom and dad didn't not parent me. I did have chores and a curfew and everything, but Cindy had a very, you need to be doing more, you're not good enough attitude right from the very start. It's hard to explain if you haven't experienced it, but I hoped the lawn incident would detail it. It's the same for grades. I got encouragement to do better from mom and dad. I was a solid B student, T-Bidge. But Cindy was pushing for reduced screen time and privileges if I didn't get it up to an A. It was always the stick and never the carrot with her. Is the best way I can put it into words. At this point, I think I'm at peace with my dad choosing her. I've seen people saying he's kinda a doormat, and I think that's very accurate to Bahat. I'm not going to raise a fuss if he doesn't come to the wedding, and anyone else who wants to know why can see this post. It's hard, and it does hurt, but that's the way things are. I don't want any more drama, but if it keeps coming, at least I know it's not my fault thanks to you. Love y'all. The people on your dad's side, do they know the real reason, or do they know Cindy's version of the truth where she's the victim? Not the asshole. She made her bed all those years ago, and it seems like your dad enabled her to do so. Now she has to lie in it. It's your wedding, and she does not deserve a place in it besides being your dad's plus one. If your dad chooses her and doesn't come, then that's on him. Congratulations on your upcoming wedding. Thanks, from the bottom of my heart. I'm not super close to that side of the family. I've never really opened up about my relationship with Cindy to any of them. I don't want to cause more drama, but I guess now could be the time to set the record straight. What did your dad do about her denying you food? Because withholding food as punishment is abuse. The petty in me would be to deny her a meal because of that. I never thought of that as a punishment, so much as her just wanting to be completely separate from me. It only happened occasionally, and when it did, I had an allowance, so most of the time I just bought another loaf or stick of butter or whatever it was. The times my dad did find out, he told me not to touch her food, and went and got a second thing for me, so he wasn't starving me or anything. I think he just wanted us to make up, really, but I don't fully know. Not the asshole. You've said that you're fine for her to attend as your father's plus one, but her expectation of doing mother of the bride things with you when your own mother is alive and involved would be overstepping even if you had a more friendly relationship. You haven't had a friendly relationship since before you moved out, and now she's playing pity party games for your father's attention. You aren't punishing Cindy. You have a mother who is alive. It is her role, if anything, and not your stepmom's. Frankly, you get to decide who comes to these events because it is your wedding. You do not need your parents at the head table. Your parents can sit separately from you and your partner and bridal party. Congratulations and good luck. Not the asshole. Well, that's another episode of Am I the Asshole in the books. I really appreciate all of you who made it this far into the video. Of course, if you enjoyed this video, it would really help the channel out a lot if you gave the video a thumbs up, subscribe, or leave a comment down below. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.